Welcome back, dear friends, to yet another lecture on New Historicism. One important author we need to consider when we discuss New Historicism is Clifford Geertz. Clifford Geertz. Now, in our class today, we shall try to understand the ideas that are put forward by Clifford Geertz in association with New Historicism that we are learning. So, Clifford Geertz. Clifford Geertz is an American anthropologist. And anthropology, as we know, is a study of man. And the anthropologists take a broad approach to understand the many different aspects of human experience and human society. So anthropology is the study of man, and the anthropologists, they take a broad approach to understand the many different aspects of human society and human experience. Now, Clifford Geertz was considered as the single most influential cultural anthropologist in America. So he was a cultural anthropologist. He is remembered mostly for his theory and practice of symbolic anthropology. So he is renowned for symbolic anthropology. Now, symbolic anthropology or the symbolic interpretative anthropology. Now, it is the study of the cultural symbols. So, symbolic anthropology is the study of the cultural symbols and how these symbols can be used to gain understanding about human society. So, it is studying cultural symbols, and these symbols can be used to understand the human society. It studies the symbols and processes, myths and rituals by which humans assign meaning to these symbols to address fundamental questions about human social life. Now, according to Clifford Geertz, man is in need of symbolic sources of illumination to orient himself with respect to the systems of meaning that is in every culture. Man is in need of symbols. Geertz takes the image of the spider that spins its web and is suspended in that web. He would state that man is an animal that is suspended in the webs of significance he himself has spun. He compares the culture to these webs, and the analysis of these cultures can reveal meaning about the human society. So, he is a cultural anthropologist. Clifford Geertz is concerned with the interpretative approach to symbolic anthropology. Interpretative approach. The elements of interpretative anthropology can be found in the compilation of his essays, the interpretative cultures. He states that an analysis of culture should not be an experimental science in search of laws, but it should be an interpretative one in search of meanings. Culture is expressed by the external symbols that a society uses. So, culture is expressed through the symbols. He defined culture as a historically transmitted pattern of meanings embodied in symbols, a system of inherited conceptions expressed in symbolic form. So, what is culture? Culture is a system of conceptions that is expressed in symbols or symbolic form. According to Clifford Geertz, symbols are vehicles of culture. Now, these symbols should not be studied in and of themselves, but for what they can reveal about culture. These symbols can be studied for what they can reveal about human society and culture. His main interest was the way in which symbols shape the ways that social actors see, the social actors feel and think about the world. He characterized culture as a social phenomenon and a shared system of intersubjective symbols and meanings. So, according to Geertz, culture is a collection of symbols. These symbols can be interpreted to understand the society. Now, symbolic anthropology is a study of cultural symbols and how these symbols can be interpreted to better understand a particular human society. It studies the symbols of a culture and how these symbols codify cultural aspects. It is the job of the researcher to interpret the culture like a language. Culture is like a language. We have to understand the symbols and interpret them like a language. All the members share a common meaning towards a symbol in a culture, and symbols are cognized in the minds of people and they have constructed it socially. The behavior of people are given meaning based on the collective symbols shared by these people. Now, culture does not exist apart from individuals, but culture exists, or culture lies in their interpretations of events and interpretations of things around them. The patterns of the behaviors give meaning to their experiences. Now, the goal of symbolic anthropology is to analyze how people give meaning to their reality and how this reality is expressed in their cultural symbols. Another important concept that Clifford Geertz puts forward is the concept of thick description. The concept of thick description. According to Clifford Geertz, culture is constituted by distinctive sets of signifying systems. He talks about reading culture in new ways. Geertz practices thick descriptions in reading the culture. Now, what is thick description? Thick description is a way of writing that includes not only describing an observation, but it also includes the context in which that behavior occurs. It will include the context in which that particular human behavior occurs. So, thick description is the close analysis of or the close reading of a particular production or event so as to uncover meanings it has for the people involved in it. It also helps to discover within the overall cultural system the network of conventions, the network of codes and modes of thinking with which a particular item is implicated and which invests the item with those meanings. So, it involves close analysis and close reading of a particular event. It is unearthing the underlying meaningful structures of local events, unearthing the underlying meaningful structures of local interactions, and from these interactions some generalized concepts can be drawn about the societies. So, it is close reading, analysis, unearthing the underlying structures of events and to make generalized perceptions on that. Now, thick description goes beyond surface appearance to include the context, the detail, the emotions and the web of social relationships. It preserves the significance of an observation, event or behavior, and it includes voices, feelings, actions and meanings. So, it goes beyond mere outward observations. One of the common examples that is used to describe or explain thick description is that of winking the eye. If someone winks at us without any context, we don't know what is the meaning of that winking. But if we provide a context, we will know if the person is attracted to us, or that he or she is trying to communicate something secretly, or that she has something in her eye, he or she has something in her eye. So, as the context changes, the meaning of the wink also changes. This is an example that is used to explain thick description. Now, thick description explains the context of practices and the discourses in a society. So, thick description will explain the context of practices and discourses in a society. Today, thick description is used in variety of fields, especially in new historicism. Geertz holds that anthropologists should explain cultures through thick description, and it is opposed to thin description. Now, thick description specifies many details, many conceptual structures and meanings, but thin description is factual account without any description. So, there is thick description that contains details, there is thin description which is merely a factual account without any description. According to Clifford Geertz, thin description is insufficient. An ethnographer must present a thick description which consists of not only facts but also of commentary, also of interpretations and interpretations of these comments and as well as interpretations. So, thick description, thin description. Clifford Geertz would say that thin description is insufficient, thick description is required. For each observation, for each event or behavior, thick description contains the following details. Now, what can a thick description contain? What all details can it contain? For each observation, event or behavior, thick description can contain some details like the biographical details about whom it is written or who is writing, the historical details, what led to this event, the situational details, that is the context, the relational details, what is happening, and the interactional details, what are the meanings and relationships of these events. So my dear students, in our lecture today, we have considered two concepts that come under new historicism. They are symbolic anthropology and thick description. Both these concepts come from the author Clifford Geertz, and these are important in new historicism, and you can expect short answers on this. Thank you for your patient listening. Please stay safe at home. Have a nice time. Thank you.